Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here with a familiar face, David Neeleman, who's the founder and CEO of Breeze Airways. And if you don't know Breeze, well, you should. It's been around now about, what, 3 years now? And we're going to talk to David about this new project. He's an airline entrepreneur extraordinaire, and I last interviewed him a couple of years ago when we were all at the Skift conference, and I've interviewed him a number of times over the years. But we're going to talk to him about Breeze as well as the overall airline industry as it stands today. And you're going to find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. First, let's talk about Breeze and where it stands today. Are you kind of on track to where you hoped you would be and what you would hope to accomplish at this point, 3 years in?
But we're getting there. Obviously, things slowed down a little bit during COVID, and it
You
was just,
think, you think.
yeah, it was hard. I mean, between the supply chain and, we wouldn't get the benefit of all that COVID money like our brethren in the industry got. The
Right.
57 billion, we didn't get any of that. But
Well,
then we had
I'll tell you,
deliveries.
I didn't get any of it either, so that's right.
Well, we had late deliveries from Airbus and supply chain issues, and then the regulatory, the whole regulatory certification process was took a lot longer than we thought. But we finally got going, and we were kind of delayed about a year and a half
Right.
in the process because you have this maturity curve where it was interesting because I've taken a look at our markets that were in less than 6 months, 6 months to 12 months, anything over 12 months. And the margins are just like this. Anything you're in more than a year is, of course, positive. Anything less than 6 months is negative. But basically, we had so much traffic coming on when we finally got the ability to kind of certify our own pilots that it created a huge kind of a boa constrictor
Mm.
swallowing an elephant going through. And so we got a bunch of markets launched. We're up to almost 250 routes in 69 cities. We just announced 3 cities
I
yesterday.
know. It's up on our site today. Yeah. So that's
Yeah, so
it's hard to keep track. We get a release from you. I said, how many cities do you actually serve? It's crazy.
it's really great. And this year, we added 29 cities last year. We're not going to do that this year. We'll probably be around 10 this year. Because we're connecting dots. We're doing a
Right.
lot of dot connecting, and that's what happens when you get maturity in markets. We probably have close to 15 of our cities that we have more destinations than any other carrier in those cities. So,
Right.
that you create a lot of interest, but also um, people look at you and fly on you, and then they look at all the other places you fly, and it just gets people traveling more often when they can do it nonstop, which is kind of our hallmark compared to others on the vast majority of routes that we fly. About 86% of our routes, we have no nonstop competition.
Yeah, well, your modus operandi has been you're going point to point to less served cities, and sadly, I haven't had a chance to use you because I'm in the New York area, and yeah, I could go out of White Plains, but I haven't figured out where I want to go to. They're not that, where I want to go is not necessarily some of those points that you have, but one of these days, I'm going to get on and take a look because I hear only good things about your service on board. And how many? What are the
Uh,
aircraft that you have, and how many do you have?
well, before we go to the aircraft, let me just give you a little hint. We're the only airline that serves Vero Beach. Vero Beach is the coolest little place. It's got the coolest little airport. Has a little grassy area that people can wait for you when you come in.
Oh, wow.
The hotels are reasonably priced. Beautiful beach. It has climate kind of like South Florida because it has that kind of warm waters that come over. So we do on peak days twice daily service down to Vero Beach from White Plains.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
yeah, go
sounds
try that
good.
out. I
Sounds
think
good. Did it? Well,
you'll love it.
I sheltered at Vero Beach briefly during COVID, so I know it a little bit. I know one of the resorts right on the beach, so maybe I gotta go back there this time and try it out. But
Go try it out.
you don't go to Las Vegas and you don't go to some of the other ones, but there's plenty of that kind of thing around. But talk a little bit about the aircraft that you have and how many you have and what the model is, because it is one model, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're kind of approaching 50 aircraft. We have third. Well, hopefully by the next week we'll have 35 220s, and then we have 13 Embraer 190s and
Right.
195s. And so we're kind of phasing those 190s and 195s out over the next 12 months. And then we're getting more and more 220s. We get one about every 3 weeks when it's on time. And so it's going to kind of a standard fleet. People just love the 220 because
Yeah.
it's conducive to a mixed class. All these guys are racing to put first class seats in, and they're
Yeah.
racing to give extra leg room and do different things. Well, we've got Wi-Fi, high streaming Wi-Fi. We've got 16 first class seats. We have 45 extra legroom seats, and then we have our kind of basic economy in the back. But that's still really comfortable compared to the others. So it's a great airplane. It can fly long. We fly uh, Providence to LAX in the summertime. We're doing Richmond, Vegas. We go
Mhm.
long distances. We go short distances, and so it's a really versatile airplane. And our guests really love it. Our NPS scores are just through the roof.
Well, I want to give it a try one of these days. It sounds great. I've only heard good things for the people that I know who have tried it. Now, and then congratulations, because I understand you recorded your first quarterly profit in the fourth quarter last year. How did you get there?
Well, when you start an airline, and we talked a little bit about the maturity curve a little bit earlier,
Right.
and so you have all these markets that are less than 6 months, then all of them are less than 12 months. As those markets start moving through, that you've been in 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, your revenue per seat mile goes up and up and up. And then you have inefficiency on costs. You have all this overhead structure, a training center, all these pilots trained ready to go, but you're not flying yet. And
Right.
so your costs are all time high. So when the revenue comes up and the costs come down, you get this crossover point. And we hit that in the fourth quarter. We'd hit it in March and April as well, but for the full quarter, we were able to make that profit, and we're projecting a full year profit in 2025. So we're off and viable, and it's all really due to our great team members that are doing a great job, and our guests that just keep coming back. We like to say we're nice people flying nice people to nice places.
Well, then they are nice places, and you say you only have a few more destinations. You're not going to do a million destinations this year, but you'll have a few more to come. And as I said, we keep reporting every other week, it seems, about new destinations you're serving, and places that are really off the beaten path, as they say, at least for us here in the New York area. But yeah, for those people, they need air service, and of course the majors have been taking away air service from a lot of those places, right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, the impetus to start the airline in the first place is we looked at 125 cities in the US that had lost more than 25% of their air service over a period of the last 10 years. And it even got more extreme after COVID
Right.
because the big airlines were using these regional jets to kind of feed into their hubs. And so you really had to make a connection if you were in most of the cities we fly, if you really wanted to go somewhere. And by having to make that connection, people just traveled less. It was just more of a hassle. And so by being able to take people nonstop, it just stimulates so much more traffic. People just go more often. And so we're really focusing on those 125 cities. We're getting back the air service. I like to give the example of a city like Huntsville, Alabama.
Hmm.
That city is the largest city now in Alabama. It's the economic development is racing. It's got the Redstone Arsenal. It's a huge FBI center there. It has a lot of aerospace stuff going on. And really, if you wanted to go anywhere, you could go to DC, of course, because that's
Right.
where all the contractors go, or you could fly to Dallas or to Atlanta or Charlotte. Those are the hub cities. And now we can take you to Orlando, we can take you to Tampa, we can take you to Las Vegas, and in the summer we can fly to LAX out of there. So uh, people just love that nonstop service. They don't have to stress about making a connection. And if you're going like Monday through Friday, or you're going Thursday through Monday, and you can get there in an hour and a half,
Hmm.
you're going to go more often than if it takes you 5 hours to get there.
Yeah,
with
I
the
would think so.
connections and all
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
So
absolutely. I love direct service, what you're offering. Now, would you consider any plan to expand internationally for Breeze?
absolutely, we're definitely have that on our radar. We're going to do it. There's a process that you go through with the FAA,
Right.
and we've already got authority to fly internationally for charters.
Okay.
And so we do those flights for charter customers. We had a bunch of flights going to the Bahamas, and we've had it's not this isn't international, but it's considered with the Dominican to San Juan the other day for a client. We flew 7 airplanes down there in one day. So
Okay.
we have the capability to do it. It's just getting that scheduled service authority and getting that done. And we're close to that. Hopefully, we'll have that in the next few months.
So would it be to going to Mexico, Caribbean, Canada? Where would you go?
Yeah, kind of all of the above.
Okay.
We the plane has about a 7 hour range, so
Yeah.
we
Okay.
can go draw a 7 hour circle around Miami, or I mean, some of the cities we fly, we don't fly to Miami, but uh, and you can see from even uh, places like Islip, we could actually go to Ireland, for example.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah.
yeah, we could go over to Europe, and they have pre-clear there. So you have to make sure you have an airport that has customs, obviously.
Yeah.
But we can hit Cancun from pretty much anywhere in the country, or we can hit Cabo San Lucas or Punta Cana. Those are all great places, and focusing on places that have like all-inclusive resorts where people love to go.
Yeah, I know. Now, would you eventually form an alliance with a major airline so you can provide links to international service? Have you looked at that?
Certainly, and it's that's not out of the question. We're talking, having conversations with all of them, and saying, "Hey, what do you need? How can we be helpful? We do things you don't do." So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interest, and I think you'll see some of those announcements in the future.
Well, we're looking for those. Now, we go out to about 128,000 travel advisors today, and many of them are in these underserved communities, and you're offering them a great way to get their clients to different places. But is there a role for travel advisors in booking or working with Breeze today to serve their clients?
Absolutely. The airfare is just such a small part of the whole experience.
Right.
We last time I checked, hotels.com had over 100 billion market cap, which is more than all the airlines in the US combined. So uh, ours is just a small fraction. It's all of the events and all these things these travel advisors and planners do that do such great work. But we're happy to facilitate if it's a large group going somewhere and we can take a full plane, or if we can just help make sure that their people get booked on a superior product. We're certainly willing to be helpful wherever we can.
Well, I know that travel advisors do like to book groups, and it sounds you got the right size plane for a nice little group that might go to maybe the Dominican Republic, as you suggest. So maybe they can work out a deal with you to go down and take their group that way, right?
Absolutely. In the first quarter, we fly about 250 charters a month. We're flying on average about 10 every single day. So it's a huge business for us.
Now, how do you view the U.S. aviation market today overall? When you look at all the major carriers, and the so-called low-cost or low-fare carriers, we've had a lot of, kind of attempted mergers recently with your old airline. JetBlue tried to buy Spirit, and then that was rejected. Frontier just made another bid for Spirit. There's still more consolidation going. Is that going to be the trend? I mean, there's not much to consolidate anymore, I think, at that level.
I think there's a few that people are looking at. Obviously, the Spirit Frontier thing, I predicted they're going to get together for a while, and
Yeah.
that's not a really tough prediction because uh, they've already announced they were merging at one time.
Yeah, I
So,
remember
and
that.
then
Yeah.
JetBlue kind of spoiled that party, and then they were talking before the Wall Street Journal reported that they were talking before Spirit filed for bankruptcy. And now the 8Ks are showing they're talking again. So surprise, surprise. So
Yeah.
I think they'll obviously be a willing Justice Department for that type of merger. I think the Biden uh, justice. I think they were mortified when Spirit filed for bankruptcy that somehow they were going to be pinned for that. So I think that would be one that would be approved. And then a lot of talk about JetBlue, what would happen to JetBlue in this environment. And I obviously as the founder, I'd hope they stay independent, but
Yeah.
that's not something I can decide. But those are kind of the ones that people are talking most about because you do have kind of the haves and the have-nots right now. Delta and United are just really doing well. They've got tons
Right.
of wind in their sails. And then you've got American that's below that, and then everybody else that's trying to find their way, racing to have a product like we have, with bundling and with superior service. With the advantage we have, though, is we have a low trip cost airplane that we can go in a lot of places that nobody else can. And with smaller regional jets, it doesn't make sense for them as well.
So you think there seems to be this sort of bifurcation in the market where you have the so-called majors, the big four, and then this other left with Frontier and JetBlue and Spirit, and then you got you and carriers like Avelo, and I'd even count Allegiant in that market
Yeah.
that is kind of serving all these places that nobody else wants to go to, at least the big ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. One of the huge advantages that these guys have figured out from United and American, United and Delta particularly, is their credit card revenue. They've got so many built-in advantages with real estate at airports that we can't get into, with a credit card that gives them billions and billions of dollars a year of revenue, with a frequent flyer program, with international networks. So they have a lot of advantages, and so we've got to be really good at what we do because we're kind of playing from a little bit behind, and we have to do things different, and
Right.
we have to do things really better, things that they choose not to do.
Well, you are serving great markets that are really, as you keep mentioning, are underserved, and people really like that. I know in those cities that you serve. So it's been a great strategy, and I love to see you succeed. We for travel advisors always want to see more airlines, no matter what, because that's going to be a bit more competition is better. And what we've seen recently is a lot of consolidation, and I don't know if that's so good. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the other airlines that you helped to develop or form or make over. Your old Azul was one, and TAP was another. Are they still following the strategy that you developed?
Well, starting with TAP is, when we showed up there, it was unbelievable. They couldn't make payroll. It was on a Monday. They couldn't make Thursday's payroll. They had the oldest fleet in the industry. It was like 25 years old
Oh
on
yeah,
average. So we went through and got all lay flat seats and brand new planes, and really got turned that thing around in 5 years. And now they're talking about privatizing again. What
right,
happened is when COVID hit, every other European airline was getting support from governments, but unfortunately, the government at Portugal at the time would said no, we want it back. So we sold it back to them for a fraction of the cost of what it was worth, what we created. And now the company's making money, doing well. There's a new government, and they're talking about privatizing it. So, I'm happy for that. The country needs TAP strong
right,
with a
right.
good product, something they can be proud of. As far as Azul prior to COVID was the most profitable airline in the world. It
Really?
and was rated number one by TripAdvisor as the best airline. Unfortunately, during COVID, without government support as well, in Brazil, it just wasn't possible for the Brazilian government. It just layered on a bunch of debt. Our competitors, Gol, LATAM, Aeromexico, Avianca, all filed for bankruptcy.
Right,
And we said, no, we don't want to file for bankruptcy. So we've kind of been going slow to a restructuring. Stock price is really low, but we've just completed a whole new restructuring and actually announced a merger with Gol, if they
right.
can get their financing out of bankruptcy. But we'll be managing that and running that business down there. We're already the largest airline in Brazil, so I'm really proud of
Which
Azul
is
and
amazing when you think about it, because we all the old airlines. What was it? Uh,
Varig,
Yeah, Varig, a name we forget, right? Like,
Varig and Voss, but
yeah,
Trans-Brazil. But yeah, would be the largest in Brazil, and we are today the largest. And
right.
so in city served, in revenue, and all that matters. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and there's got to be some government approvals, and Goal's got to take care of some of their stuff to be able to get themselves ready. But we've restructured. We're ready to go, and we've got a great business.
Well, I know on TAP, I love TAP. I've gone through Lisbon many times, and I love Portugal anyway. But I've been very happy with the new aircraft and everything else, and I've been lucky enough to go that way several times. And I still have yet to try Azul. I got to get down to Brazil one of these days, and but that will be the first one. And everybody says, "What's Azul?" I said, "It's the best airline in South America." You
By
know.
far, by far. It's a shame because COVID, right before COVID, we were going to start JFK uh, to Viracopos, São Paulo, nonstop. That would have been awesome to have that, but obviously, all everything changed after COVID.
No, absolutely. Now, last question. How do you think the U.S. aviation market will evolve heading out from here? I mean, is it going to be this kind of two-tier thing where you have the majors and there's going to be this other group of airlines serving underserved markets? Is there going to be more consolidation? What's going to happen, on your crystal ball?
I think we're headed in a certain direction. I think we're headed in a direction where you have kind of the global airlines, the strong ones. I think they're not as interested as much in small and medium-sized cities. It's not really worth it for them to be able to do it. They have scope clauses, so they have to go with, if they go with, they either have way too big airplanes or they have too small airplanes.
Yeah.
And the pilot salaries, the regionals have doubled since COVID.
Right.
So it makes it more uneconomical to operate those. You've seen the 50 seaters being parked. There's a lot less regional flights than there was in the past. So I think there's a big area for us. There's a great area for them, and I think we can all coexist and take care of the traveling public, which we love to do.
Now, where do you see Breeze in about 5 years or even 10 years?
Well, we've got 120 220s on order.
Mhm.
So they'll be coming. There's been talk that Airbus is going to try and get a bigger version of that airplane, which will probably take care of the A320 because it's such an economical airplane. So we'll take a look at that and look at opportunities. I mean, we'll do about $1 billion this year in revenue, and we only
Wow.
have really flying about 40 airplanes. So with what we have coming, we're talking about a $3 or $4 billion a year company. So that's a pretty big airline, and we can do a lot of things with that.
And a profitable airline as well.
Absolutely. You have to be profitable or you don't survive.
I don't know. I thought airline business always, for the years I've been covering this for 30 years now, it didn't seem like profit was for years, was not one of the major things in airlines. Everybody's flying under bankruptcy protection for many years, and you remember those days, right?
I do well. And to their credit, JetBlue was just such a breath of fresh air at the time. Wow, brand new planes, leather seats, television. People couldn't believe it.
I know.
And the other guys have kind of taken a little page out of JetBlue's book and said, "Hey, we like the TVs," but then they've taken it one step further and they went to first class and they went to the credit card and then they put Wi-Fi on just like JetBlue and then they
Right.
made it free. So I think it's got to hand it to them. You get on a United Max 9, it's a great airplane. It's got 24 first class seats and it has big screens that people can see. It's got beautiful Wi-Fi, Starlink that soon to have that. So they're really tough competitors and they've really upped their game for sure. That was not the same when we started JetBlue. It's a whole different market.
Well, in starting Breeze, I think you're onto something here, and I've seen what you've done with other airlines, and so we're rooting for you, and it's looking like a good thing. And I just have to figure out how to use you better, go into different markets. And I'm just going to call you up and say, look, can you do this route from White Plains, and then we'll see what we can do there, even to a secondary airport. But David, thank you for taking the time. For all of you travel advisors out there. Go to flybreeze.com if you want to know where they all go and where they are. But it is a great airline and it's growing and it's also profitable. And of course, you got this gentleman here who's has a little experience in airlines over the years, just a bit. You've started how many airlines now?
This is my fifth. So
Okay,
that doesn't include what we did at TAP. So if you want to
got it,
include that, that'd
got
be
it.
six. So
Well, you know how to start airlines and you know how to turn them into a profitable airline. Again, David, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
thank you, James. It's always a pleasure.